We all feel it. That familiar, quiet dread. It's a task on your to-do list, a project you've been meaning to start, a call you have to make, and you know you should do it. But you don't. You scroll through social media, you clean a perfectly clean room, you do anything but the thing you know you should do. It's more than just laziness. It's a deep psychological resistance, a force that keeps us paralyzed in the comfortable prison of inaction. This is procrastination, and if we want to break free, we have to first understand the walls of our cage. Procrastination isn't a single monster. It's a hydra with many heads, each one whispering a different reason to wait. Today, on our shared journey of reflection and growth, we will confront 5 of its most powerful forms. We'll explore the hidden reasons we delay, and, more importantly, how to dismantle them. These are the 5 walls that keep us from taking action: perfectionism, feeling overwhelmed, fear of failure, the sting of boredom, and the siren call of distraction. Let's begin with a familiar demon: perfectionism. This isn't about being good at something. It's the crippling belief that your work must be flawless before it even begins. It's the blank page you stare at, the perfect words you can't seem to write. The idea isn't bad, but the execution feels like a monumental task because it has to be perfect. This mindset, as we will soon see, is a thief of creativity and action. It's the ultimate paradox. The desire for perfection is what ultimately prevents us from creating anything at all. It's the silent enemy of progress. The second wall is the sheer size of the task. It's the mountain that seems too high to climb, the novel with 1,000 pages you need to write, the business you want to start, but you don't know where to begin. The modern world is filled with such mountains, and we are told to think big. But thinking big can be paralyzing. It creates a chasm between where you are and where you want to be. And so, you stand at the base of the mountain, frozen, your boots still laced, but your feet unable to move. The third wall is the simple, yet profound, fear of failure. It's the voice that says, "What if I try my best and it's still not good enough?" This fear is a form of self-sabotage. It's an unspoken agreement with ourselves that it's better to not try at all than to try and fail. We don't just fear the failure itself. We fear the shame, the disappointment, and the validation of our own insecurities. So we delay, thinking we can outsmart the outcome by not playing the game. The fourth wall is perhaps the most insidious. It's the feeling of boredom or pointlessness. It's not that the task is difficult, but that it's mundane, repetitive, or feels disconnected from any meaningful purpose. This is a challenge to our internal compass. We are wired to seek novelty and meaning, and when a task offers neither, our motivation withers. We rationalize our inaction by telling ourselves, "This doesn't matter," or "This is a waste of my time." And in doing so, we ignore the fact that every great accomplishment is built on a foundation of unglamorous, consistent effort. The final wall is a modern masterpiece of design distraction. We live in a world of infinite possibility where 1,000 little lights flicker, promising instant gratification. The ping of a notification, the endless scroll of a feed, the binge-worthy series. They are all temporary escapes. They offer a quick hit of dopamine, a small hollow reward that feels good in the moment, but ultimately leaves us further from our goals. This isn't just about a lack of willpower. It's about a fundamental mismatch between our long-term aspirations and the constant stream of short-term rewards begging for our attention. The first wall was perfectionism, the belief that a thing is not worth starting unless it can be done perfectly. The ancient Greek and Roman Stoics had a sharp remedy for this crippling mindset. They taught the essential difference between what is within your control and what is not. You cannot control the final result, the audience's reaction, or the market's reception, but you can absolutely control the effort you put into the work right now. This is the essence of their wisdom. Focus not on the outcome, but on the process and the intention behind your effort. As the wisdom says, the journey is the reward. Perfection is an illusion. Progress is real. Let the output be imperfect and let your effort be sincere. Next, the mountain of overwhelm. When a task feels too large, we are not struggling with the work. We are struggling with the imagination of the work. The solution, rooted in Zen philosophy and modern planning, is to shrink the scope. Think of the strategic principle, divide and conquer. Break the giant project into smaller, manageable subproblems. The moment we stop looking at the 1,000 miles and focus only on the smallest possible action, the paralyzing fear dissipates. It's not about finishing the book, it's about writing one sentence. It's not about cleaning the house, it's about putting one dish in the sink. The momentum of the small, complete action destroys the monumental paralysis of the big task. Our third wall was the fear of failure. We avoid action to avoid the painful judgment of the outcome. But the existentialists, Sartre, Camus, would argue that this fear is a misunderstanding of your fundamental freedom. They remind us that the universe is indifferent. Your success or failure has no ultimate cosmic meaning. This is not pessimistic. It is profoundly liberating. Once you accept the absurdity that there is no pre-written script, you realize that your attempt, flawed or successful, is the only thing that matters. Your action defines you, not the outcome. Every mistake is merely a lesson in disguise. As a great mind once noted, I've learned so much from my mistakes. I'm thinking of making a few more. Try, fail, learn, and try again. It's the only way to truly live your freedom. The fourth wall was boredom and pointlessness. When a task is unglamorous, repetitive, or simply dull, our modern minds rebel. Here, we turn to Friedrich Nietzsche and his radical concept of amor fati, the love of fate. It's the idea of not just enduring what is necessary, but embracing it. To overcome the feeling of pointlessness, you must integrate the mundane task into your larger, meaningful purpose. The philosopher knows that the greatness of the cathedral is built from the precise, consistent placement of a single, boring stone. The task itself may be dull, but your commitment to it is a profound act of self-discipline and purpose. The final wall is the siren call of distraction. the endless stream of instant gratification. For a powerful counter-strategy, we look to the Enlightenment philosopher Immanuel Kant and his concept of duty. Kant argued that morality and true freedom come from acting on self-imposed duty, regardless of personal inclination or desire. When the phone pings, your inclination is to check it. Your duty is to your work, to your long-term self. This is a battle you must win through conscious, rational choice. True freedom is not doing what you feel like doing. It is doing what you know you should do, even when it is hard. Remember, you are the architect of your own fortune. The life you ultimately lead is the direct result of the decisions you make today. We must treat our goals as an unconditional command, a categorical imperative for our own growth. Now we move from philosophy to practical application. For the demon of perfectionism, the solution is simple. Start ugly. Set the bar ridiculously low for your first attempt. Give yourself permission to create the worst first draft, the ugliest sketch, the most basic outline. The purpose of the first step is only to create momentum, not to achieve excellence. Remember, an imperfect start is infinitely more valuable than a perfect plan that remains only in your head. The work you are afraid to start is the work you need to do first. To tackle overwhelm, you must employ the 5-minute rule. For a task that feels too big, commit to working on it for only 5 minutes. This trick uses momentum against paralysis. Most of the resistance comes from starting, not from continuing. Once you pass that 5-minute barrier, you often find the momentum carries you forward. If it doesn't, you've still won. You've completed a small task and you've identified the absolute next small step. That small win is your bridge to the next attempt. To defeat the fear of failure, we must redefine failure itself. See every setback not as a personal indictment, but as a data point. Instead of asking, "Why did I fail?" ask, "What did this attempt teach me about the process?" Transform your fear into a scientific curiosity. The only true failure is the one from which you refuse to extract the lesson. Embrace the risk, knowing that every error brings you closer to an informed success. For the challenge of boredom and pointlessness, you need a why multiplier. Before you start the dull task, spend 2 minutes writing down how this task contributes to your most important long-term goal. Connect the boring action to the meaningful purpose. Then, use the Pomodoro technique. Work with absolute focus for a defined, short period, typically 25 minutes, followed by a 5-minute structured break. This makes the work feel deliberate and finite, and the break often gives your subconscious the crucial distance it needs to solve problems you are stuck on. Finally, to overcome distraction, you need to implement a friction audit. Ask yourself, what is the path of least resistance to my desired action, and the path of most resistance to my distraction? Put your phone in a drawer, turn off notifications, or use website blockers. Increase the friction required to reach the distraction. This is the final step of commitment. Design your environment for success. You can't rely on willpower alone. You must build systems that make the right choice the easy choice. We have traveled through the philosophy of procrastination. We've seen that the walls that hold us captive, perfectionism, overwhelm, fear, boredom, and distraction, are built not of steel, but of faulty thinking. The Stoics, the Existentialists, the Zen masters, and the modern strategists all agree action is the cure. Now, the philosophy is complete, but the journey of growth is an act of application. Which of these five challenges speaks loudest to you right now? Share your thoughts, your experiences with this wisdom, and the one concrete action you will take this week in the comments below. Together, we move from reflection to realization. Until next time, keep seeking wisdom and keep building a better life.